What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panfro Games, and we have another daily dose of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet news and leaks to share with you all today. And yes, there is still more leaks for this game somehow, even with the Pokedex leak. We still have more information coming out, and it's all very exciting. And we're less than 100 days away from the release of these games, so I'm expecting even more leaks to start dripping out as well. And of course, guys, if you like videos like this, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Starting off with some leaks about the beginning of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This all comes from Kaka, who is the playtester. I do want to note that Kaka is not the best at video games, as they said themselves, and apparently they are not a big Pokemon fan either. So just take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. So he says you can gain freedom about 2 hours of gameplay. So what he means by freedom is you're going to be locked into a hub area, sort of like a big tutorial area where a lot of story is happening. This seems to be very similar to like a Pokemon Legends Arceus situation, where you're going to be going back and forth talking to NPCs, or maybe even Breath of the Wild where you're on the plateau, and before you can actually go out to the open world, you got to complete this tutorial area, and then after the 2 hours of gameplay, you'll be able to go out and fully explore the map. This is very normal in tons of open world games. This is also very normal in a lot of Japanese role-playing games in general too. So I don't think anyone should be complaining about 2 hours of gameplay of tutorial stuff. Would not say this is like Sun and Moon at all. This is literally like most normal video games. Also, I did mention that Kaka is not the best at games, so this could actually be way less than 2 hours. Maybe he's just really bad and really slow. So just take that with a grain of salt. And I do want to mention, though, that the tutorial area is most likely going to be this area right at the beginning of the game over here. So we can see here, this is where we get a beach starting off, and it looks like we have our first mini town at the bottom, and then we get a professor's house. We also get a little tower here, but when we lead up, we go a little bit north. We can see this is where the actual school is going to be. This is where the orange and the grape schools for Scarlet and Violet is actually located. So it looks like everything in the 2 hours is just going to be us leading up to the school. Then once we hit the school, we get our main story objectives. We'll learn about the gyms and, you know, the 3 different storylines. So it is pretty cool that we can see the map and actually predict some of the story. But you can also see, like, there's a lot to do here. Like, I mean, this is a map that is pretty zoomed out, but there's going to be a couple routes. I mean, if every road is its own route, there's at least like 3 routes here. So that's pretty cool. And of course, the side areas. There's even a side area to the right, which is probably its own zone as well. So I can honestly suspect maybe we get 3 or 4 zones before we actually get to the university area. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Pokemon to catch, plenty of side quests to do in the beginning tutorial zone. So I don't think it's going to be any sort of dreadful situation that maybe some people would actually think it would be. They say that you can unlock Koraidon and Miraidon basic ride forms in traveling at that time. So once we hit that 2 hours of gameplay, we get our freedom to the open world. We are going to have our legendary Pokemon. Koraidon and Miraidon are not going to be actually usable at this time in the sense of a Pokemon in our team. And I am interested in the story implications of how we actually get them, why we're getting the legendary Pokemon immediately. But yes, we'll be able to ride them on a bike immediately, so the open world won't be us just running around, and I feel like that would be really slow. So this is actually pretty nice, and the fact that it give you the bike so soon means the open world is going to be pretty massive, because the bike, you know, is going to be obviously very fast, so there's going to be a lot of land that we're going to be treading for a while. And then you unlock swimming, flying, climbing forms later in the game. I suspect that these forms are going to be unlocked while you're defeating gyms or doing story events. And once you've defeated a game, you'll be able to catch Miraidon or Koraidon for your team, which I do think is pretty interesting because they're still our ride Pokemon. So what, we're just going to go to an area and then they're going to battle us and then we can catch them and then we're just going to go back riding on them. I want to hear what the story is going to be on that, because it's funny because they're already in our possession technically. We just don't own them in a Pokeball, but we can just summon them whenever. So I am interested in that. So the Glacier Pokemon that was rumored before was actually in reference to the Dragon Ice Pseudo Legendary Pokemon, and this Pokemon is going to be incredible as the Pseudo Legendary 600 BST. Ice Dragon, of course, incredible offensive typing, sort of lacking defensively, but overall, I think it's going to be pretty exciting. It's not related to Titan at all, but maybe it'll be in the same area as Titan, because a lot of people thought the Glacier Pokemon was referring to Titan, but now we know that the Dragon Ice is going to probably look like a big glacier with some dragon elements to it. And then the 3 elemental dogs, the fairy, Fido, the ghost, and dark dogs, which you don't know anything about yet, are all monotype, which means they're one type, and they're all going to be evolving one time, and that's it. So I doubt they're going to be too great, but we're going to have to see what stats and abilities are on these guys. But I mean, Fido has the advantage of being a fairy type, and the ghost one has the advantage of being a ghost type. The dark one's probably going to be the most lacking overall at the end of the day. And the dolphin Pokemon is very disappointingly just seemingly just only a water type, which is very lame to me. But the dolphin Pokemon does have 2 forms, so maybe when it goes into its forms, it'll get a second typing. Maybe this is referring just to the first form of the dolphin that is pure water, and then when it evolves and switches forms, it'll be water and something else. I hope it's not pure water for all of them, because I think that'll be really boring for a dolphin Pokemon. I mean, dolphins are so smart. I could easily see me water psychic, and especially because one of the dolphin forms is going to be on land, so I could see it be like water fighting or water ground too. So I think that's very disappointing. Ka also confirms there's a marsupial Pokemon with Parental Bond. Parental Bond is the Mega Kangaskhan ability, and I did talk about this in my last couple of videos. So the big question is, one, Riddler-Ku and Kaka have both said the same thing, that there's a marsupial with something about Parental Bond. We don't know if it actually has Parental Bond or if that's a hint at what the Pokemon is. Either way, the ability would be a hint too, because we know the Pokemon is going to have babies with it. That's the whole point of Parental Bond. It's the mother and child or father and child type of Pokemon. But if it has the ability Parental Bond, that is going to be a crazy damage boost, which is going to make this Pokemon an absolute beast for something like VGC or even for singles in Pokemon Showdown. And we do think this is going to be based on a possum. I mean, it's a marsupial with a lot of babies. Potentially could be a kangaroo too, but Kangaskhan is already a kangaroo, so I can't see them do it twice. So I'm going to say it's going to be the possum Pokemon. I think it'll be really funny if the possum uses babies as a weapon as well. And then we learned from Centro here from Kaka that the tumbleweed Pokemon is a grass and something type, so it is a confirmed a dual type. And there is 2 different typings. Originally I said it could be grass and ground, which I still think it could be. I mean, when you look at a tumbleweed, it's like it's rolling on the ground the entire time, and obviously it's a tumbleweed, which is literally grass, so could see it being grass and ground. Another type, which I just thought of actually, would be grass and ghost, because tumbleweeds usually are just dead. They look dead. So grass and ghost, bring back that Trevenant typing, and they're actually really solid typing too. So I'll be super down to see a grass and ghost type Pokemon. Potentially grass and fire, potentially grass and flying, because, you know, it's so dried up. Could be grass and fire because they like cooked. Grass and flying because it moves by the wind blowing. So we could see grass and flying as well. This is a very interesting Pokemon, but I don't think it's going to be a good one either way, just because none of these type combos are too great besides grass and ghost, which is pretty viable, but the others, not so much. We also learned that the new worm type Pokemon is a steel type. This could mean it's actually a mono steel and not have a dual type. I originally thought it'd be ground type, and I can still see it being steel ground, but if this is confirmation of a mono typing, then that's pretty cool because we don't see a lot of mono type steels usually, so I'm fine with that. Kaka also said the coin Pokemon is not hard to find, however the evolution is. So we're gonna have to find the first form. I assume there's gonna be some sort of ghost tower or like a graveyard that's gonna have a lot of ghost types, and we're gonna get the coin Pokemon there. But then it's gonna be like Pokemon Legends Arceus, where we're gonna have to get like the 108 Whis, some similar situation here. Maybe find other coins or some sort of item it likes, and then by the late game, we'll be able to get the evolution. We don't know if the evolution's type is gonna be pure ghost. I doubt it will be. Still think it's gonna be ghost and steel. And excluding Paradox Pokemon, he thinks the hardest Pokemon to get is Primeape's evolution. I do hope we get more confirmation on Primeape's evolution, on the name and actually the method. But I think it's interesting that he thinks it's the hardest to get. And Primeape's evolution, I originally thought would be, okay, because it can become a fighting ghost type, that the Primeape has to die in battle and then it evolves. But apparently not. Apparently it's going to be hard, but I don't know. We need more information on this for sure. Lastly, we learned that all Paradox Pokemon have 2 types, and some Paradox Pokemon change their type compared to Pokemon they're based on, while others preserve the typings. And Paradox Salamence swaps its flying type into something else. So this is very exciting stuff. So one, we know that all of these mono-type Pokemon like Donphan, Mischievous, Hariyama, and Suicune are all going to be gaining a second type, and they could potentially also change their original type too. So this could be like Ground Steel Donphan, or maybe it's going to be like a Fairy Rock Donphan. Who knows? Even Mischievous, Hariyama, Suicune. Suicune's very interesting. I wonder what we're going to do with it. The very obvious is water ice, but I hope they make it more interesting. Maybe water fairy, maybe remove the water completely. Hariyama, I have no idea what they're going to do to this. And Mischievous, maybe dark, maybe psychic, something along those lines. But the Salamence losing the flying type makes this thing so much more competitively viable because you lose that 4 times weakness to ice. And now I'm going to be thinking a couple things, right? What could Salamence that could not fly, did not have the big wings, what could it look like? Salamence will be a dragon type still. So I'm either thinking Dragon Fire because it's a land dragon. It has a lot of fire moves. Dragon Fire is also fantastic typing. Maybe it'll be Dragon Steel because when you look at Bagon into Shelgon has that big shell around it. Maybe it doesn't actually come out of its shell. Maybe it just gets super buff in that shell still, which would be really funny. And I can also see maybe this shell getting super hard. So it could be Dragon Rock, Dragon Steel. If it gets that hard, Dragon Steel will be fantastic typing for this overall. We also learned that Jigglypuff and Delibird keep their typings too. So it's going to be normal fairy and then ice flying for Delibird. Both of these are not, I mean, Jigglypuff is good with normal fairy, and the new base stat total for this is going to be really good because all of these are going to be in the 550 to 600 range. So prepare for all of these to be very VGC and competitively viable. And Delibird with ice flying, I think, is going to hold it back, so which is pretty disappointing. But we also know that Volcarona will be losing his bug type too. So a lot of these are going to be really interesting. They're going to be brand new Pokemon. They're going to be sharing the same design, but the typings and the stats will be very different, and probably their moves too. So I think there's a lot to look forward to with the Paradox Pokemon. Well, guys, let me know what type combination you want to see for Salamence. I really want that Fire Dragon. I think it'd be really awesome. And of course, if you like this video, please like it. It helps me out a lot. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you guys next time with more Pokemon action. Peace out and have a great one.